Welcome back to Block TV. It's time now for Trader's Take. With the price of Bitcoin headed to the downside with dominance and volume to match, it's time to turn to our blockchain analyst, our Block TV analyst, Joe Saz in New York. Joe, what do you make of the latest market moves?
Yeah, so we got a couple things going on here, and I'm still pretty bearish. We're trading in like a really dangerous territory, and there's something that pretty significant that happened. There was a pretty big buy wall like at 9,900, and it just got shredded while I was sleeping. So I mean, it's kind of a dangerous time if you're a bull right now, in my opinion. I think we're headed down to 9,300, which will probably end up being my special 3-day Block TV price prediction.
Oh,
but
cool.
let's jump into the charts and try to elaborate here. So you can see that we definitely have a descending trend. I mean, this thing is going back pretty far. We're just like, nothing is really stopping us from getting our head above the water, as you can see. And we made an attempt here, but it got immediately rejected, 10-2, almost 10-300. And then we turned that into a humongous, like that was a shakeout, and a shakeout probably means that we were trying to shake out a bunch of over-leveraged shorts, and then immediately reverse that price action into an inverted hammer, and we've basically been trading below it ever since. And here was where we broke down through the 9,900 support. So I think things are looking pretty grim right now. I'll probably be bearish a little bit here, at least going into next week, because I have a feeling we're probably going to visit the bottom of this descending triangle again, and I'm not too confident. I'm not too confident yet that we're going to break it, but we are trading below the 50 MA. We are responding more violently to closes beneath it. I do think that we'll approach this with a little bit of velocity, but I don't think it's going to really pull anyone's hair out. So I'm still curious to see how we react down here again, because considering we have a lower high like than this previous one right here, I think that the big question to me is, are we going to break through this to the downside? If so, and when? I've probably thought a couple times it would be on the sooner end than later, but this accelerated trend within the triangle broke to the upside, and we had a violent snap through it. And now we're capped out. I kind of drew a less accelerated line here, so we'll have to see if we can manage to make it to this area, this little pocket space. Maybe we can break out sooner, but if not, then we're probably headed back toward the top. And by then, it's going to be a serious horizontal resistance meets the top of the descending triangle or roundabouts. So I'm pretty much not really looking to go long on anything Bitcoin. We also have a bearish crossover of the MACD, which we went back through, and it's pretty accurate. So it's a lagging indicator, but this could get worse. I think we're looking at 9,300 in the next couple days.
But do you foresee that breakdown, that predicted breakdown you've suggested for a while, below that sort of marked like the 8,500 sort of period, or do you think that's not on the cards right now?
I think anything's in the cards, but the only thing all right, so there's kind of two things going on here. I mean, Binance is closing its doors to US customers tomorrow. That's kind of a negative external variable. We have the sharp increase, moving, the intermediate term moving average is moving up very sharply. I have a feeling we're going to break through that. That's going to act as resistance probably as well. Asher, to really talk about like when are we going to break down through this thing, and if are we going to? It's a big question. 9,000 has proven to be very strong support, like lower 9Ks, 9.1, 9.3. So one of the questions that I keep repeating is, has manipulation done enough to create a sustainable market? I don't think the answer is yes, but we're going to have to wait. Like the only way we're going to get that answer is when we break down or break through the top of the ascending triangle or break down through the bottom of it. I think we're probably headed toward the bottom of it, and Bitcoin is freaking ferocious. They don't, bulls don't want to let this thing crash. So there's been tons and tons of support at 9K. I don't know who's going to crush it, or if enough organic market selling is going to be able to do that. So I have to wait and reevaluate once we get there. But is it possible to break it and hit these 85, 75, 6,000, 45, 3,000 price targets? I think it's still possible, but the more 9K holds as support, the less I'll be convinced of that. But until we make a higher high and really invalidate this descending triangle, I'm going to assume that we're going to be breaking down out of it. It's just a matter of when. Now, historically, Bitcoin does not rip the Band-Aid off. It peels it off slowly, and everyone feels the pain. And that's pretty much where we're at right now. No one's really getting their win, except maybe some successful traders. So I would say right now we're probably looking at a move to low 9Ks, reevaluate, and if we go sideways for 2 days, chances are we're bouncing back up to 10,009, maybe 10,800 by that time, depending on how we get there, whether it's the elevator up or the stairs. With Bitcoin, it could be either. And then we're probably, and then if we break that in the descending line on the daily there, then we could definitely, it won't immediately invalidate the descending triangle, but if we break above it, hold, and create new highs, then I'm going to, the second best, scenario is that it's a channel, or the second best scenario is that it's a bull market. The third best scenario is that it's a channel. So I guess we would just have to move the first one of being a bear market just off the table. So everything would shift and would probably not be in a bear market, or we would probably not be, I would not be as bearish as I am, despite, me having been mostly a bear this whole time, without, with some price calls to the upside. But I still don't know. I don't really have historical data that can answer the question, can a manipulated market be sustained? So we still have to wait and see before, and I think this descending triangle breakout or breakdown will be the answer to that question.
So I wonder, Joe, just pulling back a bit and looking at a slightly more macro narrative, when does the halving start taking effect? When does that impact start to come into the market? And do you think that's going to have the same impact as we've seen in previous halvings over the years?
Yeah, so let's take a look at that. And this is an important thing to note. People think that the halvening is like this like godsend of a situation. Now, the halvenings have never meant all-time highs for Bitcoin. In fact, we've usually crashed from all-time highs. I'm just looking for it here. I have everything documented in this chart above. So here's the halvening, and here's one of them, okay? You can see that this wasn't, this was maybe 75% or so back to the, all right, so we were at $746 from a high of 1177. So we came back up about 60% of the value of the all-time high going into the halvening, breaking down in the weeks through it. So there's definitely run-up and FOMO leading into halvening hypes. That'll probably cause a price run-up. But you can see here, the previous all-time high being 31.99. By the time we hit the halvening, in November of 2012, we were looking at about a price of $12. That's less than half the value of the all-time high. So I'm not expecting this May 2020 halvening to be, this amazing event that everyone thinks is going to, launch Bitcoin to the moon. I think it's fine if we collapse and we have these, pretty terrible numbers moving into the halvening, considering, the past two being less than 50% and around 60% of the value of the previous all-time high heading into the halvening. That would pretty much mean that we're looking at around 14K in April or so, like that. So if we break down violently to the 5K or whatever range, and then we pop back up and slowly grind, it's not going to really surprise me. And I think the all-time high, the test of the all-time high will probably come after the halvening. And that's the halvening is going to be great for Bitcoin. I believe the price is going to be reflected in the external events. I do believe that the scarcity will drive demand. I also think that miners probably won't have to pull plugs in order to mine Bitcoin. That's one of the fears with like Litecoin, for example, is that the Litecoin's value is so low that miners have to probably pull the plug because they just went through a halvening. So miners, like Litecoin price is crashing violently, and as well as their block reward subsidy decreased by half. So what incentive do miners have to mine the shitcoin that's copy paste garbage of Bitcoin that's could in all likelihood go to zero? So as far as halvening is concerned, I'm not going to say I'm expecting an all-time high by then. Definitely expecting some volatility going into it, like the 6 weeks going into it, and then maybe pull out a couple weeks before. Every happening could be different though. So that's the thing about Bitcoin. We'll have to reevaluate when we get there, but I'm not expecting to see all-time highs by then.
All right, so then looking more closer term, we've seen a slight downtick in dominance. What are alts doing? Do you think there's a bit of a surge there, or is this just part of the Bitcoin leading the fall?
Yeah, so let's take a look. All right, so it looks like relative to Bitcoin's move back to the upside, the only thing that's taken a move up is Litecoin. BNB has gone down. Let's see, Litecoin garbage is going up, yep. And then we have, let's see, in cyan we have ETH, and then BNB is in orange up here, and then the other orange is down here. That would be XRP. So I mean, relative to Bitcoin's stagnancy and even bit of a move down, altcoins moved up, and now that Bitcoin's moving back up, alts are going down. To make this simple, there's two questions going on. Are we going from Bitcoin to cash, which is causing say that altcoiners are just hodling right now, and no one was touching anything. All that would mean is we're Bitcoin, people are selling Bitcoin to cash, and relative to Bitcoin's exodus, there is going to be an increase in altcoin dominance, very minor, as you can see. But so that's one thing, is Bitcoin to cash and hodlers hodling alts. That does mean that there will be an increase in alt dominance. The alternative is when you start seeing alts sell to Bitcoin and then exit, there's a little bit of activity there. So, we're just monitoring this. I don't think it's too significant, but I do like to see something, I do like to see when you have sharper decreases in relative to Bitcoin's gain in dominance, like XRP. I mean, it looks like it's losing a lot of dominance here. It's falling much more sharply relative to ETC, LTC, and BNB. So we'll keep monitoring that stuff, and let's take a quick look at the price relative to USD on a couple of these. ETH, we're now we're firmly past the bearish crossover, the short and long-term moving averages. We're kind of building up. I think this little pullback here is nothing more than just a technical move. I mean, and now it's already being reversed. So this 9 buy on the weekly is probably not looking good. We probably might fly through it. And even though 9s looked like they were pretty active, maybe we'll see some more activity. But if it doesn't happen, it just goes to show you that traders aren't even interested in trading this. Was there any specific chart you wanted me to hit? We just kind of talked about dominance a little bit, maybe XRP or anything like that.
Yeah, well, let's take a look. You said BNB was sort of managing to hold a little better than some of the others. Yeah, that's one we haven't looked at in a while. Let's take a look there and see if there's any particular price action.
Yep. Well, yeah, it's looking pretty ugly. I think closing their doors to the U.S. Now, CZ is promising to open up a U.S. exchange like real soon. I think his goal is by the end of September. So I'm a little bit like skeptical of this. I think it could be an honest attempt. It could be a lie to just keep people from dumping their BNB. But basically, we're looking pretty ugly. I mean, these moving averages, long and intermediate here, blue and purple, shot up, and same with the 50, of course, which is the most delicate. I can't think of the right word, but the most responsive. There we go, to price action. Now, so these are starting to round off and curve down a little bit. I think this is looking bad in a technical light, and I do think there is an external variable that's going to cause a little bit more uncertainty in this asset. But right now we're still trading at support of all-time high, previous all-time high area. I think we could be breaking down. I wish that this would have had a much more distinctive crashy look, and by that I mean like a bull trap and then a breakdown. And that's kind of what I like to see, not just like a straight up peak and then a crash. But we very well could just come back to these relatively safe numbers down here. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure that BNB is going to make it. I think that the price action will be pretty crazy going into some of this activity that we have tomorrow. Let's take a quick look at Tron. Tron's looking pretty ugly. Nothing to see here. Bearish crossovers. We used to fight in this moving average range, and now we're well below it. I think they're going to have to do whatever they can. Wow, my screen just went black. Yeah. So, Tron's going to have to do whatever they can to. I think they talked about a buyback of coins. So I was like, that's complete garbage of a thing to do. I mean, you can't be decentralized internet, blatant money grab kind of delusional innovation altcoin there, where they're like buying back their coins to stimulate the growth of their asset. I think it's pretty ridiculous. But one last.
Okay, one last one, and then I think we'll wrap.
Well, this is actually what I was curious about. I just wanted to see XRP. It looks like we're trading well below that support area. We've pretty much maintained the integrity, and this is, by the way, is what I mean about Bitcoin's descending triangle. It will not be invalidated in my eyes if we pop above it and close back beneath it in sequential days, like really, really close to session. So I do think XRP is looking pretty bad. We took a big steep fall right now, and there really isn't a bottom to this descending triangle. There's a lot of wick space here, and I like to use the bodies. But this is looking pretty ugly. XRP could be going down much further. I argue with XRP fanatics all day. I just think that we'll have to let their bags go to zero. I've tried to save them.
We'll have to see how that one turns out. But in the meantime, Joe, thanks so much for joining us again and helping to break down some of the important analysis in the sphere. And of course, stay with us at blocktv.com for all the latest in news and information. I'm Asher Westrop Evans. Thanks for watching.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.